All right, this video is for the satin stitch. I love the satin stitch because you can cover large areas with this beautiful sort of glossy, satiny, if you will, texture. And so if you notice, these are all three the same shape, but they have different ways of catching light because the satin stitch is going in different directions. So this one, the satin stitch is going across and it's really absorbing the light from this direction. This one, the satin stitch is going up and down and it's kind of getting a light from this way. And this one, the satin stitch is diagonal and you can see it's really getting the light in this direction. So let's get started. I'm going to start with a square shape because that is the easiest or the simplest in the satin stitch. So with your needle threaded and your thread knotted, which you should do before you start your video if you were me, you're going to go, I'm going to make these ones go up and down. So here, let me draw that on there for you so you can really see. These ones are going to be going up and down in this direction. I think I'm going to make the triangle go in a diagonal and the circle we're going to do horizontal. So it just helps to know. I like to draw it on there when I'm filling it in so that I know I can keep myself on track. So to start this square, I'm going to come out from one corner and simply bringing my thread back here, or bringing the tip of my needle to the other side and bringing my thread back out the top. And just keep doing that. Entry point of the needle goes on the other side, exit point of the needle comes out the other side. So it's really quite basic, but it gives you a beautiful look. It also tends to take a lot of thread, so take that into account when you're designing things that have a lot of satin stitch. You're going to need to buy a little extra thread. And you just continue that all the way. So it might be tempting, you might be wondering right now, or maybe not, I don't know. I wondered for many years, why do you have to have all of this space behind the needle? Why can't you just kind of go back and forth along the edges? Well, when you're doing it this way, you're creating kind of a coil with the thread because it's going over and under, over and under, over and under. You've got kind of a coil that's happening, and that is really giving a nice flat texture. If you were to say, go in and then just come out a little bit over here, and then go in on the top and come out a little bit over there, it sort of messes with the texture of it. See how they kind of start flying off in different directions? The threads aren't laying anymore right next to each other. So that is why we don't do that, because it just doesn't look as good. If you're running out of thread, by all means, take that shortcut. But this is one area where I think the traditional method of doing it up, like in and out like that, is much better than cutting corners. Okay, now let's get started on this triangle. So I'm going to do the triangle diagonal. So I'm going to start with this fat edge. It really doesn't matter what side you start with. Bring the threaded needle out on one edge. So my needle is going to go from this edge to this edge. So the point that the needle comes out of is where the end of these lines are. And again, going all the way across the back because I have enough thread and I don't feel like cheating today. Okay, it's not really cheating. That's a little bit of a harsh description, but you get the picture. And so if at any point you start to kind of angle off, like right now it seems like these stitches kind of got a little bit closer together and those were a little further apart, that's okay. Just make up the difference. So instead I'm going to start making these a little bit further apart and bringing them a little bit closer together over here. You would be amazed at how much leeway the stem stitch has. You can have like pretty big gaps in between it. The satin stitch. I said the wrong word. You can have pretty big gaps in between it, but aesthetically, you're still going to have the same look to it. This is getting a little sloppy. Do what I say, not what I do. But you're getting the picture, right? This is making sense. Okay, now we're going to go over to the circle over here. So circles are a little bit more challenging, but basically when we follow our lines, here, let me draw these a little bit more precise for you. When we follow our lines, we're gonna find that it makes it way easier. So I'm coming out at the beginning of this edge. So this is gonna be a little weird because circles don't have edges, but you gotta start somewhere. So you're gonna make this tiny stitch first, and then bringing the tip of the needle out on the edge of the circle where this new line is that I've drawn. Inserting the needle at the edge over here. So this method might take a little bit getting used to, this creating of circles, but you'll get the hang of it. Inserting the needle over here. So yeah, it's all about just in and out on the outside line. Oh no! And not getting it caught on random things lying around your desk. Now you'll see the stitches are getting thicker as we get to the middle of the circle. And in the middle, they're going to be probably the same. Oh no, sorry. They're going to be probably the same length for a little while. And then they're going to start to get narrow again. And if you accidentally pull one a little too tight, just give it a little bit of, loosen it up a little. Now you'll notice that I just took like a giant gap on accident. So if that is something you also do while you're working, oh my God, don't worry about it. Guess what? There's a solution. You just go back in and fill it in later. So I'm going to, see that little gap right there? I'm gonna fill that in. Bring the needle out one edge and go ahead and put it in at the other edge. And there you go, that's a satin stitch.
Want to know more about designing your own embroideries? Be sure to check out my latest book, The Art of Embroidery Design, or find a little magic in your threads with my best-selling book, Mystical Stitches. You can also sign up for my totally free creative embroidery workshops, Enchanted Blooms or Mythic Creatures. Head to mixedcolor.net for more. Oh, and I think this is the point where I'm supposed to ask you to like and subscribe, I guess? I don't know, I'm new to this.